Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Big Bros Podcast, episode 54 today. If it's your first time joining us, welcome. My name is Jeremy, and I'm joined by my lovely friend and co-host, Ilan. How are you, mate?
Mate, I'm pretty good. Beautiful day here on the Saturday in Melbourne. But just want to tell the listeners what we got up to last week.
Last week was a bloody fun weekend, wasn't it? We took advantage of the long weekend and we went down to the Mornington Peninsula, stayed at our friend's house amongst a host of our good mates, and we enjoyed one of our friend Brendan's birthdays. Shout out Brendan. And we had some fun drinking games, and one of the drinking games, King's Cup, consisted of, do you want to take it away and tell the listeners how it ended up for you, mate?
Let me set the scene. I am boiling beyond anything given how hot it was, and the power goes out. You know, everyone's got the AC blasting in the municipality of Merrick's Beach, and the power goes out, and I'm sweating, I'm dehydrated, I'm tired. And I'm hearing that we're playing these drinking games. And my first instinct is I really cannot be asked. But it's Brendan's birthday, so we got to get involved. And anyways, get involved with King's Cup. And everyone, if anyone's not familiar with the game of King's Cup, it's pretty much a game that involves a bunch of cards. And, you fill a big cup, jug, could be like a dog bowl really, of just alcohol. And whoever draws the last king, there's 4 kings in a stack, you are the unlucky person and you have to drink the whole bloody jug of beer. I was unlucky, and if I wasn't drunk prior, I definitely was after, and I felt like a degenerate. So
you got through it though. I was impressed.
Pressure.
Not that we advertise and promote binge drinking, but you know what? It was within reason, and it's once in a blue moon. And seeing you binge drink your way through that jug, mate, was it was impressive.
Yeah, it's all about passion and mentality as well, I reckon.
Yeah.
I'm just sound so arrogant. But it was good. Then I smashed your ass in bloody beer pong. So that was
beer
good
pong?
fun.
Nah,
yeah.
Mate, me and Brendan came out on top. But anyway,
that's all
clearly
right.
he was a bit drunk and can't remember.
True.
Anyways, diving into this week's episode, as you guys can see, we're discussing first dates, your guide to first dates. Now, first dates, it's still that time of the year where the sun is out and romance is in the air and people are out and about. You might be down the peninsula still enjoying yourself amongst the Sorrento Hotel crowd, or you might be in St Kilda partying your way at the SB if you're in Melbourne. And there's plenty of fun to be had if you're single and you're out about on the town. And if you're listening and you're after a first date, well, you've come to the right place, because we're going to dive in and talk about everything from pre-date to post-date. What should you do and what you should expect to experience? So, Ilan, I'm going to ask you first. I mean, it's been a while since you've been on a first date, because you're in a nice, loving relationship currently.
Of course.
But take us back. Do you remember what your first date was with your partner?
Oh, yeah. I remember I had sculled like a whole bottle of water before I hopped in the Uber. I remember when...
Sure.
Yeah, no, seriously. Sculled a whole bottle of water. I was like, we're getting drinks. And I had no intention of, binge drinking that night. And we actually didn't. It was actually quite tame. But I just remember having to go piss every 20 minutes. And my first impression... Rachel's first impression was, wow, he's got a really small bladder. And I don't actually blame her. And I think it got in her head a little bit. It's like, is he not enjoying the date? He keeps going to the bathroom. But I genuinely sculled a whole bottle of water. But yeah, went for drinks the first date, and it was really nice. And something I learned from that experience is when you go on a date with someone, especially for something like drinks, it's good to sit next to, side by side rather than front on. Because I reckon it's way more... It sets the scene a little bit better. You don't feel as confrontational when you're going face to face as you would in a lot of other scenarios. And I think that was also just a cool way to build familiarity. And overall, I think picking the place you go for drinks, or it doesn't have to be drinks, but anything, picking where you go for the date has a huge kind of influence. And I remember I went to fucking Jungle Boy on Chapel Street. And I thought, I'm going to be the coolest person. It's not like anyone else has done this before. Anyways, go sit down. They have these cool drink offers, or rather the way they present the drinks, it comes in and it's lit on fire. You've been before, haven't you?
Yeah.
So you know what it's about, and it just looked pretty cool. So I thought, this wouldn't be the worst idea But yeah, you run the risk of running into people on chapel, but luckily it was during a weeknight. So
Oh, there you go. See there, that's a nice little tip for your first date. If you want to be a little bit under the radar, a little bit low key, don't do it on a Saturday night. Don't do it on a Sunday night. Don't do it on a Thursday night. Go on a Tuesday night.
Exactly. Jeremy, I want you to blind rank these 5 date options. So you're not going to know what's going to happen, but from 1 to 5, 1 being the best idea for a first date and 5th being the worst, you're going to rank them.
Okay.
Movie date.
Movie, that's 5th.
Good call. Drinks.
So again, I don't know what's to come. So this is like blind. Okay. Drinks, 2.
Okay. Dinner. Like sit down dinner, not takeaway.
4.
Okay, so we've got 3 there. Walk.
Ooh. Walk is, again, it's hard because I don't know what's to come, but I'm gonna say 1.
Okay, and coffee.
3.
Okay, so we got walk.
I'm actually happy with that.
That's not bad. So you got walk at number 1.
Yep.
Then you've got coffee. Drinks at number 2.
Yep. Coffee 3.
3. And then dinner 4.
Movie 5.
Movie 5.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I'm happy with that. I think I went walk number 1 there, as obviously didn't know what was going to come my way, but because it is, I guess you can open the door to different avenues with a walk. You can walk along the beach, you can walk around parks together, you can walk towards getting a drink together, you can walk towards getting food together. So I thought it was a bit of a safer bet to put that at 1. But walk is good. You're in an environment where there are other people around you.
Got a nice little spider there. Let's get him. Yeah, hold on.
Gracious. That's just a little one.
Oh, it's all right.
Flick it off. Gone.
Now it's probably on me somewhere. Go on.
You're in a nice environment. You're out in nature. You've got people around you. You can people watch. You can make comments on what you're seeing, what you're doing. And that is nice versus like a sit down dinner where you might feel quite trapped. If you're unfortunately stuck in a conversation with the person that is maybe not so favorable, or you're feeling like you're struggling to get conversation with them, being face to face at a dinner table is less than ideal.
Yeah, it's not a bad call, but you know what I reckon is the most ideal date?
Yeah.
Is maybe like casual drinks prior and then doing an activity, whether it's like bowling, mini golf, even ice skating. Would be kind of fun because I think you create, there's this, I think, term in psychology where if you do a lot of things with someone, like within a limited amount of time, it feels like you've known them for longer, just by virtue of the fact that you've done a lot of activities with them. So instead of going to like a bar for 4 or 5 hours and just chatting shit there, you go to a bar, have some drinks, or you get some dinner, maybe it's like takeaway for an hour, then you go do an activity that takes 2 hours, and then you do maybe something else, like another activity. Takes another hour.
Mate, that's a lot.
That's a big date.
That's a fucking
I'm not
first
sorry
date.
advocating you do that. But what I am saying is that it creates like a perception in your mind that you've known this person for longer because you've done and experienced a greater amount of things with them. So that's something to
your
keep in
intention.
mind. Well, that brings me to the next point. Depending on your intentions with like where you're at. So maybe you're someone who is looking for a long-term partner versus someone who's just looking for something casual. Is that gonna influence where you decide to go on a date with that person?
First date, yeah, it will. Like, you're not going to ask a person, do you want to go for a drive on the first date, if you're actually wanting to be a little bit more intentional with the date. If you want to pursue something that is a little bit more than just some casual fun, I think you just have to work out the connotations behind it. You're just picking them up in your car, going for a drive at night. There's not much direction about what that date is. It also doesn't feel like, I don't feel like it's not special at all. You're not making the person feel special by going on a date with you, to just picking them up and driving around in your car, and it's a little bit aimless in a way. I would struggle to think that someone would be willing to go on a date like that, or find it thrilling or romantic or special to be doing something like that. So definitely, back to your question, it does depend on your intentions as to what you pick for that first date. I think though, we also don't need to necessarily know what our full-blown intention is on the first date. I mean, there's been times where, like I've gone on a date thinking that I wanted to be a little bit more, intentional with the mindset I was in at the time and what I wanted to pursue. And, I chose something and it ended up, not going the way maybe I would have hoped for. And like, for example, choosing a dinner for the first date and then me realizing, you know what, I think that was maybe a little bit too hectic of a first date. Maybe I should have done something a little bit more chill, even if my intentions were a little bit more, stronger or intentional as opposed to just being casual. So I think it's finding that happy medium of not doing something too serious and not doing something too casual, like just going on a drive.
Yeah, the thing with the drive though, especially, I think that shit was acceptable when you were 18 and you got your red peas and you wanted to show off to everyone.
It's not acceptable now.
Not acceptable now. So for any girls listening to this, if any guy is asking to go on a drive with you as that's their form of a date, they want one thing only, and we know what that is.
Yeah. Just decline. Just don't do it with
Unless it was COVID. I mean, like COVID was a different scenario because like your options are really limited. So that's like, a different case. So if anyone's like, oh, my first date with my long-term boyfriend was a drive, that's fine. And it was in COVID, that's different. Like I'm not talking about now. When you've got the means to actually, do something fun now. And, I would honestly, here's my gripe with something like a walk or something like that. You don't want to appear a little bit cheap. I think I'm a bit more conservative in the fact that if you're going on a date, put a bit of effort into it. And I'm not saying go to Chin Chin for an expensive dinner. You're not going to a 5-star, dinner by Heston style sort of date. But what you should be doing is putting a little bit more effort. And I do agree on one hand that, depending on where you're at in your life, whether you want something casual or not, or if you want something serious, that's going to influence what you do. But generally speaking, any date you go on, you should put effort into it, because the reality is you want to show the other person that like you are, first of all, you care enough. Obviously it's your first time meeting them. It's like a bit like a job interview, but it shows to them that you take things seriously and you take pride in the things you do with other people. And I think that's a really, really important thing, because I think if you go and do something like an activity and stuff, it can signal a lot of things. It can signal that you know that you want to have fun.
Yeah.
I think if you put a bit of drinks in beforehand, or maybe you guys don't want to go for drinks, but you do it like, get a quick bite to eat after, it shows that, you're also someone who likes food. But I mean, who doesn't like food? But truthfully, I think it just comes down to being a little bit fun. Like you want to show the other person you can have fun, and putting investment into that's important. And I honestly think that, a date is not the time to show that you're frugal with money. I'm not saying you spend $300, $400, but what I am saying is that you should be a bit chivalrous. And I think the man should also pay.
Yeah, same with coffee dates too. I think coffee dates, some people say, nah, it's good because, it's 45 minutes to an hour and a half. It's in and out. You go on to the next thing. It's quick. It's inexpensive. But I wouldn't want that as my first date, especially if I was a girl. Like, I mean, I'm not speaking on behalf of girls, but like you just said, it's about effort. It's about intention as well. And like, do you really want to go on a date with someone where it just feels like it's in and out? It's like just a convenience for them. It's a convenience for you. I get it. We're all working. We're all busy. We've all got busy schedules. But if you want to be, I guess, intentional, at least with your dating, because I think that's important. You might be intentional with your dating, but not necessarily wanting something serious, but you still show the person that you give a shit about how you're spending your time with them. You're still spending quality time with them. And I think that makes a difference. It's like, well, I wouldn't feel that special if I'm just fitting into someone's schedule, their busy schedule. We've all got busy schedules, but make time. If you really want to go on a date with that person, make time for them that suits the both of you. Organize the time. Organize a nice date that isn't frugal, that isn't just 45 minutes over a coffee.
Who organizes the date?
I think, look, as a guy, it's great getting asked to go on a date by a girl. So I think, the guy shouldn't always ask the girl out on a date. It's such a good compliment to be asked out on a date by a girl. But I think when it comes to like the organization of the date, I'm a believer that the guy should often initiate the organization of it and make it happen. There's nothing worse than being indecisive And that's something I've learned over the years as well, from when I was in my younger years of dating, when I was, like 19, 20 years old, I would fall into the trap of being a lot like, should we do this? Should we do that? Should we go to this restaurant? Should we go to this restaurant? Should we get Italian? Should we get Mexican? It's like, you know what? Just make a decision. And if they don't like it, they'll tell you. But I think it's hot. I think it's attractive. I think it shows assertiveness if, as a guy, you say, hey, let's see each other Sunday night if you're free. How about we meet for Mexican at 7:00? I'll pick you up on the way.
And most times the girl will just be happy to be asked out. She's not too phased where you necessarily take her unless she's a vegan and you're taking her to the local steakhouse.
Exactly.
So I think your chances of error are quite diminished. Again, they're just happy to do something because they're keen to just, give this date a try and see where it goes.
Yeah. And I think confidence and decisiveness is one of the most attractive qualities to have as a guy. And you can really show that from the get-go on the first date, just by making that plan. And then when it comes to the date coming up, confirm it. Like, make sure you confirm it. Don't wait until it's 4:00 and you're meant to meet at 7, and then you send the message of, are we on tonight?
Don't even say, are we on? I feel like just saying, like, keen to see you at X place at this time. And that's it.
Absolutely. But make sure you do it well in advance. Make sure that they know what to expect from you and what time they're meant to be expecting to see you. And yeah, be well organized. There's like being late to the party and, being, just wishy-washy with your text messages. None of that's attractive. It's honestly putting you off on a bad note, I think, going into that first date. So organize that date, be decisive with your plan, follow through with it, and you're already off to a great start. Now, when it comes to going on that date, outfits are important as well, I think. What do you reckon?
It's funny you mention outfits. We have a good mate. I'm not going to name him. I think we both know who we're talking about. He sent me a photo, or sent a few of us lads a photo of what he was wearing before a date. And he looked like how would I say? He looked like he was about to go into the San Siro and play for AC Milan or Inter Milan. He was wearing a soccer jersey. But he dressed well in the sense that he didn't look bad or anything.
Soccer jerseys are low-key in fashion now.
Maybe. I'm out of trend. I still wear skinny jeans. I don't have any baggy pants. Don't take fashion advice from me. Yeah, I don't really care. What's the internet going to do? Make fun of my skinny legs and my skinny jeans? Come at me. No, on a more serious note, outfits, everyone's got their own personal fashion taste, but I think what holds true is the fact that you should just always be well-groomed, well-kept, and wear clothes that, accentuate your best qualities, right? Yeah. And for me, it's very different to you. You and I have very different body types. You got bigger arms than me. I'd be showing off your pipes.
Nah, mate, I'd say the complete opposite. Be humble. Be humble. Don't show it off.
Yeah, but I'm not saying dress barely naked or anything like that, but I'm saying accentuate the good qualities you have in a humble way. I think there's a good way of doing that.
Yeah. And I like that you included grooming as part of, this is outfits, but I like that you included that because that is a key factor too. Make sure you're well kept. Be either, if you don't have facial hair, clean shaven's a good go, or if you've got facial hair, clean yourself up, make yourself look good. Get a good cologne. We spoke about this last week as well. Please don't use Dior. Please don't use Dior Sauvage because you're just going to remind her of all the manipulative, unfair men that have been in her life previously. So just don't wear that, for God's sakes. Wear something nice. Wear something that's inviting. Don't wear something that makes you smell like a manipulative, unfaithful man. Make sure you're well kept, like we've said. And if you're wearing, if it's a casual date, say you're just going for sunset takeaway by the beach, picnic, something like that. This is I would say deemed as a casual date, casual attire, but you can still make yourself look really good for something like that. Wear a good pair of slacks, wear a nice hoodie, nice jumper. Don't just rock up in trashy looking tracksuits and the t-shirt that was sitting on your chair from 2 weeks ago. Make yourself look as well kept as you can, regardless of the attire, regardless of the setting in which you're in. And look, I think more often than not, it's going to be a casual type of setting. So get some good casual clothes.
I reckon, to be honest, most people know that. I think everyone's so nervous before first dates that they'll go through extra effort. Like, you know, instead of waiting before they go to bed to brush their teeth, they'll brush their teeth again after they have a shower or something like that. And yeah, I think the outfits point is true. But I'd also just be confident with what you wear. Like, if you have a certain fashion taste and you're worried that they're going to judge you for it, good. Like, still wear it anyway, because if that's what you love wearing, you wear it. Like, even my mate who I was giving shit, like, that I was shit talking before, I rate that he wears that because it actually shows confidence. Like, that's his style. Yeah. And like, I would never pull that off, but he can. So he should back it. Like, he should really invest in that and, like, you know, own it.
Yeah, it's good. It's a talking point as well. Like, yeah, they might absolutely hate what you're wearing, but if you wear it and you like what you wear and you show that you like what you're wearing, that's attractive, I think. You know, that's attractive. So it's a good point of conversation. It's better than just rocking up looking like 70% of the nation. So I would say go for it. Now, Ilan, you mentioned at the start of this episode sculling a bottle of water and finding yourself in the bathroom for 75% of your first date. Clearly there were nerves there for you. That is normal. You know, we're all nervous going into a first date. Calming the nerves. Is sculling a bottle of water the answer?
Well, okay, I'm going to correct you. I wasn't actually too nervous. I was pretty relaxed at the time, but I was just like, I think I had come home from gym and I had a big day at uni, and I just remember I did not drink water at all, and I thought, if we're getting drinks tonight, I don't want to be dehydrated. I want to be like alert. I want to be on my level. So yeah, sculling a whole bottle of water, not useful. Just drink it progressively. Yeah. But to calm the nerves prior, like I have been on dates prior where, you know, I have been nervous. I try not to think about the date at all. Like, whether I'm driving there or I'm in an Uber, whether that's listening to some good music or listening to a podcast, I try to get myself out of the mindset of like, oh, I'm about to go on a date. Even if it means taking a few deep breaths and just getting yourself relaxed. Because truthfully, the most nerve-wracking part of the date is at the very start when you greet them. And then once you set in and you start chatting with them, you just naturally become more comfortable.
Yeah, it's funny. I actually reckon the most nerve-wracking part is the 30 seconds after you first see them. Because that's like, you see them, you say hello, you say how are you, you give them a hug, and then it's like, shit. Okay, what do I say now?
Do you give them a peck on the cheek?
Oh, look, it's contextual. I mean, like as part of my general greeting, I would go to give them a kiss on the cheek when I go in to hug them, just like you would to your extended family member when you're at a family function. You know what I mean? It's just like a general greeting, nothing romantic, just a general greeting.
Asking for a friend.
There's nothing wrong with that, but yeah, I reckon it's that 30 seconds after you first greet where the nerves kick in. So, you know, that's where I think to just dive into a question of maybe comment on what they're wearing. Like mention something they're wearing, mention the shoes that they're wearing. Maybe they've got like a sick pair of Jordans on and you're like, oh, like sick kicks, like love J's, you know, are you into your shoes? Like, find something that I guess you can talk about. Maybe it's jewelry and you like jewelry. Maybe it's like a freaking pearler of a day and the weather's been elite, even though weather chat's a bit dead. Like, just to get you off on like a sunny note, no pun intended. Like, just pick something that's like easy to talk about that you can comment on just after that first greeting. I reckon that's important.
I would add a caveat to that. Don't say it for the sake of just saying it. You know, if you actually do appreciate something that they're wearing or you find it cool or interesting.
Oh yeah, you got to appreciate it.
Definitely, because that people can sense energies, and I think people can tell when someone's making an like disingenuous comment just for the sake of it. Do's and don'ts, especially for date chat, politics. Do or a don't?
Yeah, I think politics is something that people are generally scared to chat about, but I think it's great to chat about. Not like, you know, we don't want to be debating Trump Biden, but when I say politics, I'd say like it's good to give the person an insight into your values and ethical and moral beliefs to a certain degree.
So my answer here is going to be a little bit more wishy-washy. If let's say you're like an interviewer and the person you're interviewing is potentially going to be your next long-term partner, you want to know whether that person is going to be on the same values level as you. And politics tend to reflect your values. It tends to reflect, you know, what you believe in, how, you know, you might want to raise your kids, the ideals you want to instill in them. And yeah, it's all very serious for a first date. But I think like a politics chat, honestly, I think it's a bit too intense. I'll talk about values instead.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like they kind of intertwine. Like values and
maybe
politics
actually.
can kind of intertwine.
What's a reflection? I think values is just a bit more relaxed in being like, yeah, how shit of a premier was Dan Andrews, you know?
Yeah,
like,
look, no one wants to talk about like poly-level politics. Like when I say politics,
poly-level politics.
yeah, like you know, I think it's more lighthearted to talk about like like your ethical beliefs, but like that'll come up in conversation. So like, don't stress about politics. But I'd say like, don't stress about talking about politics, but don't get scared to talk about politics. Like if it comes up in conversation, don't think that you need to swerve that and pivot away from it. Like dive into it if it comes up in conversation. It's chill. I think it's a good thing.
I reckon it is, in the sense that like you want to show the other person that you care about what they think. I mean, I'm sure you've been on dates before where you're just asking them questions and they're not really reciprocating back. So
Mate, the worst.
So the thing is, it's like the best dates are the ones where, you know, there's genuine interest in what you both want to say and have to say. But on top of that, you kind of build and expand and you chat about the deeper level things. I think that's another thing is like, if you're someone who knows their values and you're actively looking for someone long term, I don't think there's anything wrong either. And it's a delicate way of phrasing it, but saying like, hey, look, I'm actually looking for something long term. It's not saying I'm going to be looking for something long term with you, but I'm just looking for someone long term. That's where my state of mind is at. I think that's a very important thing to do. I think it can cut through a lot of bullshit. You know, people who date one another or end up in like, you know, situationships don't ever have that chat early on. And it can really bite one another on the ass.
Yeah. I think definitely if you are wanting something, if you want to pursue something serious in a relationship, you want a relationship that is serious and you're looking for that from the get-go on your first date, I think it's fine. Like, I think that's just a way to weed out potential people that aren't looking for that, which is fine. I mean, you know, why would you want to sit through date number 2, date number 3, when in your mind you want something serious, but you still don't know what they want? Like, talk about it on that first date, because they might turn around and be like, yeah, like I'm actually in the same boat. Like I would also really like something serious. I'm at that stage in my life where, you know, maybe I've been single for a bit and I actually want to have something serious now. So how good would it be to, like, I guess, know that from the get-go, where you can be a little bit more intentional from there on in versus holding off and you know, just making this picture in your head about something that you're not even sure about. So yeah, no harm in it, you know, can result in something great. And then if not, it'll just weed out potential things that you wouldn't want to pursue anyway.
You know what I also reckon is like an underrated topic to speak about in a date, and I think it shows a lot of it's attractive for both males and females. It's talking about your plans for the future and highlighting your ambitions. So whether you're studying still or you're working, showing like where you want to be in like 5-10 years, it is an incredibly sexy thing to illuminate. It shows that you're working towards the future and you're almost selling your future to them. You're saying like, this is all the cool things I'm keen on accomplishing and doing, and like, this is what might be in store if we were to pursue this.
Yeah, if you want to be like, yeah, I agree. I think it's attractive and it's hot to talk about what you're ambitious about, but it's also important to not go down the road of just talking about work, just talking about university.
That's not what I mean. That could be in every context. It could be like traveling. It could be like, oh, I'd love to go to North Korea on my 40th birthday.
Fuck, that's rogue. That's definitely a topic that'll prick up the ears, I reckon. So.
I know.
But yeah, exactly. It's, you know, it's attractive to talk about your ambitions. I mean, there's nothing worse than going on a date with someone and they don't bring anything to the table from that front. You know, they're just talking about the crap that they get up to on Saturday nights. You want to hear something a little bit more in depth about their ambitions and about their desires. You
know what else is quite hot as well is active listening. Like actually showing the person you care about what they are having to say, and not just being in a format where it sounds as though you're almost interviewing them. It's like, and a really cool tip I've learned just through my studies and like doing role plays, because, you know, in psychology and even physio, you have to be an active listener.
Of course.
Repeat the stuff they say to you. I'll give you a quick example. Jeremy, you're going to be an active listener. You're going to ask me, okay, Jeremy, I went and got some delicious brekkie today. Like, it was absolutely unbelievable. Had avo toast, had a coffee. It was elite.
Yeah, oh geez, I love avo toast. You know, I love it especially when it gets paired up with a couple of poachies. I prefer poachies rather than sunny side up, you know.
Poachies.
So there you go. There's a bit of
So
active
easy.
listening. So rather than just saying like, yeah, so good, and then going on to the next topic, it's like there's a whole topic that could have been discussed there that hasn't been discussed that could go on to the next topic. So it's like, it's just listening carefully, and you'd be surprised how many people just don't do it. Like I've been on so many, not even just dates, like you're just catching up with a friend or, you know, someone you've met like at a bar or at a social gathering, whatever. And you're in conversation, and like, you can be like talking about like good stuff from your end, and then they'll just hit you with like yeah, nice, cool. And then it's
So
just
frustrating.
dead conversation after that. But like when that happens on a date, it's honestly the worst thing, because then it's like, well, fuck, where do I go from here?
Well, what do you reckon is the goal of a date? To build?
Yeah.
To build? I want you to...
To build your connection.
Beautiful. I'm glad you said that. And the best way you build connection is by being present in the moment. And by being present, that means actively listening. And that's a great tool in your arsenal, because that's the truth of it. You want to build some sort of connection in that first date. Whether it works out or doesn't, it's just an excellent thing you should try and aspire to do. Otherwise, why are you there in the first place?
For sure. I think what's also important on first date is some element of romanticism, okay? And this doesn't necessarily mean having candles lit up, you know, making sure like it's dark down lighting. You know, it can just be something as simple of like incorporating some touch. And I think touch is really important, because if you don't incorporate a little bit of touch, and I'm not necessarily saying go and kiss them and have a snog in the bar. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, you know, say you're chatting to one another, like you're laughing, like there's a little bit of banter, maybe a little bit of flirtatious energy. Like there's nothing wrong with like a few little leg or arm taps. Or
Yeah,
like,
just don't be violent with it. Don't
not.
fucking go.
Of course not, mate. That's excessive. But far out,
Sorry,
mate. Getting a bit excited there.
Sorry.
But yeah, just a little bit of touch is healthy, and it shows that you're playful, but you're also a little bit flirty, and you're also, I think, comfortable in their presence. Because I think when you're quite like robotic, and you're not touching them in any way, shape or form, you're maybe not even sitting next to them, you're face to face, it gives off a very like interviewee type vibe, and it also gives off a vibe that maybe you're not comfortable in their presence, and they just want to feel comfortable in your presence, right? So there's nothing wrong with, being side by side, incorporating a few little gentle, like playful, like touches here and there, and little knocks here and there. And I think it's nice. Like it's playful. Like I've never been in a situation where it hasn't felt nice for both parties. It definitely makes you feel a lot more comfortable with each other.
For sure. Two things. Don't ever do the sound I just made on my leg before. My leg is kind of throbbing. That's one. Number two, I think also a really important point there is like also look at their body language, because some people might be quite reserved to touch. Even like something as simple as like, the leg tap, or, what you were just demonstrating.
Judge
before.
the situation.
Judge the situation goes without saying, truthfully. But it's honestly a great way, because you're breaking that touch barrier. And the thing is, what separates, what could be a date that evolves into something more deep and meaningful versus a friendship is that element of, physical closeness, right? Like
that's all it is. It's physical closeness. Like you might go down the pathway of date 2, date 3, and like, you've been chatting to this person well, and it's like, it sounds good from that perspective, the date, but you feel like you're missing out on a little bit of romanticism, a little bit of spice there with them. So, don't be surprised if a friend zone comes your way then.
Yeah, I mean, that's another good point. It's like, yeah, far out. It's just, a lot of people might get friend zoned because they haven't made any sort of physical advances, or like intentions to show physical advances, whether it's, that leg tap, or, even a peck.
A peck, or just like, like hugs, or just like being side by side to them. Like, none of this is like us saying like, try to sleep with them or anything, or try to like properly hook up with them. That's not what, you know,
I wouldn't
that's
even,
not what
I don't
we're
think
saying here. It's like literally just like that physical closeness. You know, like you're on a date with one another. Like, you're not looking to be mates. So
yeah, well, that's the thing. It's funny you mentioned the whole thing about sleeping with them on the first date. I think there'll be dates that people have, and the chemistry will be so palpable. Like you'll want to sleep with them ASAP. And honestly, if you're looking for something casual, why not? But something I've thought about, and I want to see if you agree here, because I think this might be somewhat of not a controversial point, but I don't think everyone would share this opinion, which is I feel like if you're looking for someone long term and you sleep with them on the first date, it can almost blind your judgment for all the other important qualities. So you're so kind of seduced by their physical attractiveness and, just wanting to sleep with them that you forget about all the other things, like the things that might only become apparent in a few months' time, but your judgment's been blinded because all you can think about is being physically intimate with them. So could you make the argument that it's worth, even if you really want to sleep with them on the first date, just waiting a little bit? Everyone says it's 3 dates, but truthfully, it doesn't have to be 3 dates, but just giving it a little bit of time to just absorb who they are as a person, saying, yeah, they're bloody attractive. Yeah, I'm really attracted to them. But it's like, what else is it about their personality that I like?
yeah, I don't think there's a number that needs to, be said. Like, it doesn't need to be wait till the first date. It doesn't need to be wait till the third date, the 7th date. Like, I think it should happen firstly when you both want to do it. Like, you both need to be on the same page. It shouldn't happen when one party is like pushing it.
Of
Absolutely
course.
not. So that's point number one. You both need to want to do it. But I agree with you. I think like, if you're really vibing with this person and, you're building that connection, you're building that attraction towards one another, like, it'll always be better after a few times of seeing each other and after getting even closer and building a deeper connection with one another. It'll always be better.
I think that's like my theory as to why a lot of lockdown relationships didn't work out in the end, which is you were forced essentially just to be in a situation where, everything was as accelerated really quickly. So,
You're at home.
Well, the thing is, you could have only seen people if they were like your, partner. Like that was that you couldn't say like, oh yeah, I'm going for a booty call. No, it's like they had to be your serious partner. So like under that pretext, a lot of people were meeting up with each other, sleeping with each other. And, they became boyfriend, girlfriend in the lockdown. Quickly. And that may have truthfully blinded their judgment with regards to whether they were truly meant for one another because they just jumped in bed too quickly. And the thing is, it can work out. Like, it's like everyone's different. So there's no one size fits all approach. But I think generally waiting to be intimate with someone, especially when you've got a lot of attraction for them, can be quite helpful just for your own assessment of whether the person you're seeing is someone you want to pursue for something more serious.
Yeah, and I think if the person is vibing with you as much as you're vibing with them, and they've perhaps initiated wanting to, be intimate with you, but you're then saying, nah, you know what? Like, I'd prefer to wait. Like, I want to see you a little bit more before we do that. If they're into you as much as you're into them thus far, I'd be really surprised if they turn around and want to throw what they're building with you away just by you rejecting sleeping with them when they want that, they want that intimacy.
Yeah, I think that's a good message, especially for girls. Like, if the guy really, really likes you, he probably won't care that much if, you're making him wait. I know.
If anything, it's hotter. It makes him want to chase you more.
I'd argue it is, because a lot of guys, I don't know, without becoming too controversial, I feel like if you sleep with the girl too quickly, it might signal to the guy, well, that wasn't much of a challenge. If she's sleeping with me that quickly, she's sleeping with everyone else that quickly. I think guys inherently want a challenge. Again, might sound controversial. I actually don't care. But in the same context, though, I think the opposite works even better.
Yeah.
Make them wait and say, hey, look, I'm wanting something serious with you. You're not going to just, you don't get it that easy,
Absolutely.
You might have to work a little bit for it, but that's fine.
I think it's attractive.
I personally agree. I think it's a good thing. And I think it shows your worth,
Yeah.
Your sexual exclusivity is a hot thing to kind of protect. And I think just giving it up to someone thus far it can work, but oftentimes you hear a lot of stories where the guy just, F's off.
What do you do if the date's going bad?
I mean, it's contextual. How bad is bad? If you're like sitting there and look, they're a nice person, you're getting along well, it's more of a friend's vibe, stick it out. Just stick it out till the end of the date. Chances are, if you both might be feeling the same way, and just, say thanks for a great night, and then maybe text them tomorrow being like, hey, I really enjoyed this, but I saw it more as like a friendship sort of situation. Really enjoyed your company, take care. And that's fine. But if the date's like, like you're just hating it and they're just being like, you're almost growing a disdain towards them, you could just be honest. I think honestly, like honesty is the best policy in this case.
Yeah.
If there's someone that you just look at and you're thinking like, wow, you're really not the person I thought you were based on our Hinge messages, I think you're wasting your time being there.
Yeah, I think you are wasting your time too. I think, I've probably been in that situation in the past where I'm across from someone and I'm thinking we're vastly different, and I've stuck it out, and you kind of leave the date thinking, what was that? Like, what was I doing? Like, I've just wasted my whole night. Like, I could have, politely just wrapped it up earlier. And I think you're right. Honesty is the best policy. Stick to the truth and state the facts. Like, you're not going to ever go wrong there. Yeah, it might hurt a few feelings along the way, but no one's ever going to disrespect someone that is being truthful versus someone that's being dishonest. So I agree. Now, when it gets to the post date, right? You've had your date. You already alluded to it then about, what to do the next date, but I'm a believer that you really should follow up the next day, as the guy especially. Like, you should make an active effort to send them a message the next day. Doesn't necessarily need to be a message about what it's going to look like beyond here for you guys, but at least saying something in retrospect to what you had the previous day on the date, whether that's a message about you enjoying the date, whether it's you're bringing to light a joke that you shared. I think just some form of a message, a light message is necessary then for the next day.
Yeah, 100%. Because the last thing you want to do is make that other person feel like, you've had the date and you've just forgotten about them. Because, that could be quite emotionally, it could be emotionally taxing. You're thinking in your head, did they enjoy the date? Did they not enjoy the date? Do they want to see me again? Do they not want to see me again? So I definitely think, regardless of how good the date was, whether you want to see them or not, always following up the next day, either with like a message of honesty being like, I don't really want to pursue this in a romantic context. But also the other way, like, let's say you did really enjoy their company and, the chemistry was palpable and you'd love to see them again. You say that, like,
I loved it. I'd love to see you again.
Yeah, it's as simple as that. And honestly, keep it simple. There's no recipe. Just and be decisive.
Don't love bomb them, whatever you do. That's what I'm going to say. If we're talking about the next day type of thing, don't say how much you loved it to an extent that sounds like, holy shit, this person only knew me for 3 hours and they're making out that I'm already their husband or wife. Yeah,
massive red flags. Yeah. If someone's sending you that, we can have a whole episode about that, but that's like, signs of someone with narcissism. So
rather insecurity, I would say. But that's an episode for another time, isn't it?
For sure. Give me some rapid fire do's and don'ts for a first date.
As a guy, make an active effort to pick them up if you can. If you're picking them up for dinner, if you're picking them up or if you're rather going on an activity together, make an active effort to try pick them up. If you're not living an hour away from each other, really try and make that active effort. It's just chivalrous. It's nice. It really kicks off the date on a good note, I would say. So make that effort. I keep harping on about it, but wear something good. And by wear, I mean your clothes. I mean cologne. Make sure you're well groomed. Make sure you can show the person that you've actually gone to an effort here and you've put in effort. Make sure you're texting them prior, texting them before the date and not like 2 or 3 hours prior. Make sure it's locked in terms of your organization, at least in the morning if you're seeing them in the evening. I think that's fair. I think it's important for the guy to also pay for the date on the first time. I'm a traditionalist like that. I think it's chivalrous. I think it's a nice thing to do, unless of course there's a lot of insisting to go halves, or for some reason the person is the other person you're on the date with is really, really, really insisting that they want to pay for whatever reason. I mean, I've never experienced that where they've really, really, really insisted on the first date to a degree where like I'm not paying. But yeah, I think it's nice for the guy to pay on the first date.
Definitely. Some don'ts is don't shit talk your exes, no matter how much you hate
Try
them.
not to even bring them up at all.
Yeah, true. In general, don't talk about your exes.
Hear that.
Yeah, seriously, it's not an attractive conversation. As well as don't talk about the fact that every single person in the world has slighted you. You know, nothing was ever your fault. Because trust me,
Great point.
That's not something people want to hear. That will signal alarm bells ASAP.
Yeah.
So keep that to yourself. Don't ever ask to split the bill. Don't. Just pay for it yourself, especially if you're a guy. No, it's like...
Don't ask to split it.
Do not ask to split it. Good tip here. It's the most traditional tip in the world. Literally go to the bathroom, come back, pay for it. And they're like, oh, you've already paid for it. Yeah, I have. Let's go. Simple as that.
Absolutely.
More don'ts. Don't expect anything to happen from it. Like, don't expect, sex or a kiss or anything like that. Don't be one of those people. Just what you should expect is just to have a good time. Yeah. And even then, just be open-minded.
Enjoy the connection. I mean, you've clearly asked to go out on a date with this person because there's some form of attraction or connection prior. So just remind yourself of that. Go in with low expectations and you won't be disappointed that way.
Amazing. I think we've covered pretty much everything for the do's and don'ts and how to approach that first date. So guys, with great power comes great responsibility, and Jeremy and my knowledge, mostly Jeremy's knowledge in this case, has been imparted onto you. So use it wisely. Be nice to everyone. Jeremy, any final words?
Be nice to everyone, but know your worth at the same time. So don't be a people pleaser.
Do not be a people pleaser.
Episode for another time. On that note, guys, we hope you enjoy. Have a good week. Happy Tuesday if you're listening on the day of release, and we'll see you on the next one.
See you.